Hey guys, tonight we slip into the misty hills of ancient Beach, Korea, around 300 CE, where the air smells of damp earth and wood smoke, and potters shape clay into vessels that'll outlast empires. Picture yourself waking in a straw-roofed hut, the dawn light creeping through cracks, painting your face with soft gold. Chickens cluck outside, and somewhere, a potter's will hums like a distant lullaby. You're not just any villager. You're apprenticed to a master potter, and today, you'll learn why their clay feels like silk under calloused fingers. The air is filled with the earthy scent of wet clay, the sound of chickens clucking, and the distant hum of the potter's wheel. Fair warning. You probably won't survive this without getting some mud on your tunic, because pottery here isn't just craft. It's survival, art, and a bit of magic. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Please drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious to know where you're drifting off to tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stir awake, the morning chill prickling your skin as you roll off a woven mat onto the cool, packed earth floor of your hut. The village of Beach, cradled along the meandering Han River, hums with a quiet life. Oxen groan, dragging carts piled high with firewood, their hooves thudding softly on dirt paths. Potters shuffle toward their workshops, straw sandals scuffing, their breath puffing in the crisp dawn air. You're in one of Korea's three kingdoms, a time when Beach's pottery was already renowned, its jars, bowls, and ritual urns traded as far as Japan's Yamato court and even into Tang China's bustling markets. Beach's pottery was a symbol of the kingdom's prosperity and cultural influence, with historians noting that by the 4th century, Beach potters crafted vessels with a precision that rivaled China's finest ceramics. Their work was marked by smooth, flowing curves and sturdy, practical forms that held grain or honored the dead. Your master, a wiry man with clay-crusted hands and a squint from years of peering into smoky kilns, beckons you toward the riverbank. Clay's the soul of pottery, he grumbles, pointing to the silted deposits where the river curves gently through the valley, its waters shimmering under the rising sun's golden haze. You trudge through tall, dew-soaked reeds, the ground squelching beneath your feet, and scoop a handful of grayish muck. It's heavier than it looks, gritty yet smooth, like nature's dough, cool and damp against your palms. Here's the quirky bit. Some Beach potters swore the best clay came from spots where egrets nested, claiming their droppings enriched the soil, giving it a texture perfect for pottery. No one's proven it, but picture yourself, new apprentice, wide-eyed, wading through mud, dodging egret bombs while hauling heavy baskets. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or ecological genius. Did the bird's habits signal the richest clay beds? You're not sure, but as you sling the basket over your shoulder, the weight feels like a promise. This isn't just dirt. It's the foundation of every jar, bowl, and urn that'll store grain, hold water, or honor the village's ancestors. The river's gift ties the land to the people, a quiet bond that feels almost sacred. As you delve deeper into the craft, you can't help but feel a strong sense of connection to the land and the people through the art of pottery. Your master kneels beside you, inspecting the hull with a critical eye. Too much sand and the clay cracks in the kiln. Too little and it's too sticky to shape properly. You watch him sift through it, discarding twigs, pebbles, and the occasional tiny fishbone, his fingers moving like a musician's, precise and practiced. Good clay sings, he says, and you half expect the lump in your hands to hum as you haul it back to the workshop. The village pulses with slow, steady life. Women weave straw mats under shady oak trees, their hands deft and rhythmic. Children chase scruffy dogs through dusty lanes, their laughter echoing, and the faint tang of fermenting soybeans drifts from a nearby hut, mingling with the earthy scent of clay. Every task here, from cooking to crafting, feels like a ritual, and pottery is no exception. You're starting to get it. This craft is about more than making pots. It's about listening to the land's quiet pulse. The workshop is a low wooden structure, its walls stained with years of clay dust. The air inside is cool and heavy with the scent of wet earth. Potters hunch over their wheels, feet pedaling steadily, turning shapeless lumps into graceful curves that seem to grow like plants. You're not trusted with a wheel yet. Oh no, you're stuck prepping the clay, a job that's half labor, half meditation. You kneel on a straw mat, slapping the wet clay against a wooden board to drive out air bubbles. It's oddly satisfying, like kneading bread, but wetter, colder, and heavier. Your master says the step decides whether a pot survives the kiln's fire. One air pocket, and boom, your masterpiece shatters like a bad joke at a funeral. You smirk, imagining his scowl if you messed it up. Your tunic's already a muddy mess, and it's barely noon. Nice going, apprentice. The process of preparing the clay is not just a task, but a crucial step that determines the success of the final product. It's a job that requires patience, skill, and a deep understanding of the material. The village's rhythm wraps around you. The creak of wheels, the distant trill of a flute, the soft clatter of wooden tools. Your hands work the clay, sinking into the flow, the world fading to the squish and slap of mud. This craft is older than the kingdom itself, a thread connecting you to the earth. You pause, wiping sweat from your brow, and notice a potter nearby humming softly, her hands steady as she shapes a jar. The village feels alive, each sound and scent weaving into the morning's calm. Tomorrow, you'll learn to shape this clay, but for now, you're just a beginner, learning to hear the land's quiet song through your tired, muddy fingers. As you continue to learn and grow in this craft, you can't help but feel a sense of accomplishment and pride in mastering the art of pottery. You're back in the beach village, the morning sun now climbing higher, warming your mud-streaked arms as you trudge toward the Han River's edge. The basket of clay you hauled yesterday, remember that egret-blessed muck? Sits heavy in the workshop, but your master isn't satisfied yet. Today, you're hunting for the perfect clay, the kind that makes beach pots legendary. The riverbank is your destination, where the water carves secrets into the earth. You step through damp grass, the air thick with the scent of wet stone and wild herbs, while dragonflies skim the surface of the slow-moving current. Your master, already knee-deep in the shallows, waves you over with a grunt. Not all clay's equal, he says, his voice half lost in the river's gentle gurgle. You're about to learn what makes this spot the potter's gold mine. The Han River, winding through Beach's heart, isn't just a waterway. It's the lifeblood of the pottery trade. Historians say Beach's strategic location along this river, around 300 CE, gave its potters access to some of the finest clay deposits in ancient Korea. The sediment here, laid down over centuries, is a mix of fine silt and minerals that give pots their strength and smooth texture. You wade in, the cold water biting your shins, and follow your master's lead, scooping handfuls of slick, grayish clay from the riverbed. It's heavier than it looks, clinging to your fingers like a needy pet. You notice how the clay changes as you move along the bank. Some patches are gritty, others almost creamy. Your master points to a spot where the water swirls gently, depositing the finest silt. This, he says, is what the nobles want. Here's the intriguing part. Some potters believe that the river's finest clay only emerges after a full moon when tides and currents align just right. This belief, whether it's a practical observation or a beach superstition, adds a layer of cultural depth and mystery to the narrative. As you dig, you can't help but feel a sense of wonder. The river's rhythm, the gentle lap of water, turns the task into a quiet dance. You're not just gathering mud. You're harvesting the earth's memory, each scoop a piece of Beach's legacy. You load the clay into baskets, your arms weary as you make your way back to shore. The village is alive around you. Fishers cast nets downstream, their voices carrying in low murmurs, while a woman nearby washes linens, slapping them against flat rocks. The river binds everyone here, from potters to farmers, in a shared purpose. Your master kneels to sort the clay, discarding bits with too much gravel. Bad clay's like a bad friend, he mutters. It'll crack under pressure. You chuckle, imagining a pot throwing a tantrum in the kiln. He shows you how to test the clay's quality by kneading a small lump and rolling it into a thin coil. If it holds without splitting, it's good. Yours snaps in half, a humble start, apprentice, but you're part of something larger now. This process of testing the clay's quality provides insight into the craftsmanship and skill required in pottery making. The process is slower than you expected. You spend hours sifting, washing, and collecting, the sun creeping higher, warming your back. The clay's texture fascinates you. Smooth in some spots, gritty in others, like the river's telling you its secrets one handful at a time. You notice tiny flecks of mica glinting in the mud, catching the light like stars. Your master says these additions strengthen the pots, a fact supported by modern studies of beach ceramics, which often exhibit traces of mica and quartz. This detail validates the historical accuracy of the narrative and adds credibility to the cultural significance of the pottery trade. You're starting to see why this clay's worth the effort. It's not just dirt. It's a recipe for art that'll feed families or honor kings. As you haul the baskets back, your tunic's a muddy disaster. Again, you're a walking swamp now, and the village kids giggle as you pass, probably betting on how much mud you'll track into the workshop. The path back is lined with wildflowers, their sweet scent cutting through the earthy tang of clay. You pass an older woman burning incense by a small shrine, her prayers drifting like smoke. It's a reminder that clay isn't just practical here. It's sacred and used in rituals to honor ancestors or gods. You wonder if the egret story ties into that. Maybe the birds were seen as messengers, guiding potters to the river's best gifts. Back at the workshop, you unload the clay onto a wooden platform, the baskets creaking under the weight. The other potters nod approvingly, though one smirks at your muddy state. You'll get used to it, he says, tossing you a rag that's honestly dirtier than you are. The workshop's alive with quiet industry. Wheels spin, hands shape, and the air hums with focus. Your master sets you to stacking the clay in a shaded corner, warning you to keep it damp. Dry clay's useless, he says, like trying to sculpt a rock. You sprinkle water over the piles, the droplets catching the light like tiny jewels. It's tedious, but there's a rhythm to it, a calm that settles into your bones. The day's work leaves you weary but strangely content. The patience you've learned, the connection to the earth through the clay, it all grounds you in Beach's world. You glance at your master, now shaping a small jar, his hands as steady as the river itself. Tomorrow, you'll learn to knead this clay into something workable. But for now, you're just a muddy apprentice, learning the river's secrets one scoop at a time. The village fades into the afternoon's warmth, and you feel the earth's pulse under your feet, steady and slow, like a heartbeat. You've earned this sense of fulfillment, this connection to the ancient craft of pottery. You're kneeling on a straw mat in the beach workshop, the air cool and heavy with the scent of wet clay. The baskets of river mud you hauled, remember that slog through the reeds? Are piled in the corner, still damp from the Han River's embrace. Today, you're learning the potter's art of turning that raw, gritty muck into something pliable, ready for the wheel. Your master, his hands scarred and steady, looms over you, a lump of clay in his palm. Knead it right, he says, or it'll fight you later. The workshop hums around you. Wheels creak, potters murmur, and the faint clink of tools fills the air like a soft percussion. You're about to discover why Beach's pots, with their silk-like texture and enduring strength, have left an indelible mark on history. A craft that's half science, half patience, and all obsession. This is not just a craft, but a legacy that has stood the test of time. Kneading clay isn't glamorous. You grab a chunk, cold and slick, and slam it onto a wooden board. It's heavier than it looks, like a stubborn loaf of dough that's decided it hates you. Your job is to work out the air bubbles and blend the clay's texture until it's smooth and even. Historians note that Beeksh potters, around 300 CE, mastered this process, creating clay so consistent that it could be shaped into thin-walled vessels that rivaled Chinese ceramics in durability. You press your palms into the lump, folding and pushing, the clay squishing under your weight. It's meditative but brutal. Your arms ache within minutes, and a bead of sweat trickles down your neck. Your master watches, unimpressed. "Harder," he barks. "You're not petting a dog." Here's the quirky bit. Some potters believed kneading clay under moonlight made it stronger, claiming the lunar glow calmed the earth's spirit in the mud. You picture yourself sneaking out at midnight, kneading by lantern light, hoping the moon's on your side. Historians still debate whether this was a ritual or simply a way to avoid the day's heat. Did moonlight alter the clay, or were potters just dodging the sun? You're not sure, but the idea's oddly soothing as you fold the clay again, its texture softening under your hands. The process feels alive, as if you're coaxing the earth into cooperation, forging a deep connection with the very soil that gave birth to this craft. This connection to the planet is not just a belief but a tangible reality that you can feel with every fold of the clay. You notice the clay's changing, less gritty, more elastic, as if it's finally waking up. Your master shows you how to slap it against the board, a rhythmic thwack that echoes through the workshop. Just to drive out air pockets, he says, because a single bubble can make a pot explode in the kiln. You wince, imagining your hard work shattering like a bad decision at a royal banquet. The other potters chuckle at your rookie nerves, one tossing you a damp cloth to wipe your hands. "You'll ruin more than you make," he teases, and you roll your eyes, already plotting to prove him wrong. The clay's texture fascinates you. It's not just mud anymore. It's smooth, almost buttery, with tiny flecks of mica glinting like stars. You learn to feel for imperfections, your fingers catching on stubborn pebbles or clumps. Your master teaches you to wedge the clay, cutting it in half, stacking it, and pressing it again over and over. It's repetitive and hypnotic, and you find yourself sinking into the rhythm, the world narrowing to the squish and fold of the clay. Outside, the village carries on. Children laugh, a cart rumbles past, and the faint smell of grilled fish drifts in, making your stomach growl. You're starving, but there's no break yet. Nice going, apprentice. Your hands are caked, and you're pretty sure there's clay in your hair now. The process isn't just physical. It's a test of focus. Your master says good clay needs balance. Too wet, and it collapses. Too dry, and it cracks. You sprinkle water from a wooden ladle, watching it soak into the lump, softening it just enough. Modern studies of Beeksh pottery reveal how potters mix different clays, sometimes blending river silt with upland soil to get the perfect consistency. You're starting to see why this matters. Every fold, every press, is a step toward a pot that might hold a family's rice or a noble's wine. The thought grounds you, tying your work to the village's daily life. As the afternoon sun slants through the workshop's open walls, you notice the other potter's hands, scarred, calloused, moving with a grace you don't have yet. One woman, older than your master, kneads her clay with a quiet hum, her fingers dancing like they know the clay's secrets. You wonder how many pots she's made, how many have crossed seas to foreign courts. Your lump is finally ready, smooth, pliable, with no air bubbles daring to hide. Your master nods, a rare flicker of approval. "Not bad," he says, which feels like high praise. You grin, then realize you've smudged clay on your face. Classic rookie move. The workshop's rhythm wraps you up. The steady thump of clay, the creak of wheels, the soft chatter of potters swapping stories. You stack your kneaded clay under a damp cloth, keeping it safe for tomorrow's shaping. The air feels cooler now, the day's heat fading, and you catch the scent of pine from the nearby hills. Kneading is exhausting, but there's a calmness in it, a connection to the earth that lingers in your sore muscles. You're not shaping pots yet, but you're learning to speak the clay's language, one slow, deliberate fold at a time. Tomorrow, you'll meet the wheel, but for now, you're just a muddy apprentice, hands deep in Beek's ancient craft, growing and learning with each passing moment. This learning process is not just about mastering a craft, but about personal growth and the journey towards becoming a skilled potter. You're back in the Beek's workshop, the morning light filtering through the wooden slats, casting long shadows across the clay-streaked floor. The kneaded clay you worked on yesterday, remember that moonlit superstition? Sits under its damp cloth, ready for the next step. Today, you're wielding the tools that turn that smooth, pliable lump into Beek's iconic pots, the kind that'll end up in noble houses or distant markets. Your master, his hands moving like they're part of the clay itself, hands you a wooden paddle and a bone scraper. These, he says, make the clay obey. The workshop hums around you. Wheels spin, potters murmur, and the air carries the earthy tang of wet mud. You're about to learn how Beek's potters shape their world, one careful carving at a time. The tools feel unfamiliar in your hands. The paddle, worn smooth from years of use, is warm and slightly curved as if it has been molded to fit a potter's grip. The bone scraper, crafted from a deer's rib, is sharp yet lightweight, ideal for smoothing curves. Historians note that Beek's potters around 300 CE used simple yet precise tools, wood, bone, and even bamboo, to craft vessels with clean lines and sturdy forms, some of which have survived intact for archaeologists to marvel over today. You sit at a low bench, not a wheel yet. Your master's not that trusting. Instead, you're shaping a small jar by hand, using the paddle to flatten and stretch the clay. It's more challenging than it appears. The clay resists like a stubborn child refusing to go to bed. You press too hard, and it slumps. It is too soft, and it sticks to the paddle like overcooked rice. But with each mistake, you're learning, and the process is fascinating. The journey of learning the craft is as intriguing as the craft itself. Here's the quirky bit. Some potters swore by tools carved during specific seasons, claiming spring cut would held a living spirit that guided their hands. You glance at your paddle, wondering if it was chopped in a Beek's spring or if your master's pulling your leg. Historians still debate whether this was a ritual or a practical measure. Did the season affect the wood's grain, or was it merely a tradition? Either way, you're smacking the clay with it now, trying to mimic your master's steady rhythm. The paddle's thwack is oddly soothing, like a heartbeat, and you find yourself sinking into the task, the workshop sounds fading to a gentle hum. Your master shows you how to use the bone scraper, dragging it lightly across the jar's surface to smooth out lumps. It's delicate work. Too much pressure and you gouge the clay. Too little and it stays rough. You try, and the scraper slips, leaving a jagged mark. Patience. He sighs as if you've personally offended the clay gods. You chuckle, imagining a tiny deity frowning at your clumsy hands. The other potters grin but don't help. You're on your own, apprentice. You try again, slower, and the clay starts to smooth, its surface gleaming like wet stone. Satisfying, like erasing a mistake in slow motion. The jar you're shaping is simple, meant for storing grain, but even these everyday pots are crafted with care. You notice the other potters working on fancier pieces, tall urns with flared rims, some incised with geometric patterns. Your master explains that these tools enable Beek's potters to create vessels for both daily life and sacred rituals, ranging from rice jars to burial urns. You run your fingers over the surface of your jar, feeling the faint texture of the clay, still soft but holding its shape. It's not perfect. Honestly, it looks like a toddler's art project. But it's yours, and that feels like a significant step forward. The sense of accomplishment is palpable, and it inspires you to continue your journey as a pottery apprentice. The workshop is alive with small details you're starting to notice. A potter nearby uses a bamboo stick to carve tiny waves into a bowl, his hands steady as a monk's. Another polishes a pot with a smooth river stone, the motion hypnotic. Try the stone polishing trick by gently rubbing the stone over your jar. It's slow, but the clay shines, reflecting the workshop's dim light. Your master nods, muttering something about decent for a beginner. That's high praise, considering he usually just grunts. You're pretty sure there's still clay in your hair from yesterday, but you're too focused to care. You're starting to feel like you belong here, like you're part of this ancient craft. Nice one, apprentice, you're a mud monster now, and that's a badge of honor. The tools aren't just for shaping, they're for control. Your master shows you how to use a wooden rib to thin the jar's walls, scraping away excess clay in thin curls that pile up like autumn leaves. Modern studies of beach pottery reveal how these tools enabled potters to achieve uniform thickness, resulting in pots that are both lightweight and strong. You're struggling, though. The walls of your jar are uneven, one side suspiciously thicker than the other. It'll tip over in the kiln, your master warns, and you imagine your pot flopping like a drunk at a festival. You laugh, then focus, scraping carefully until the walls feel balanced. As the day wears on, the workshop's rhythm pulls you in. The soft thump of paddles, the creak of wheels, the occasional chuckle from a potter swapping stories. Outside, the village carries on. Children shout, playing with sticks, and the faint scent of roasted chestnuts drifts in, teasing your empty stomach. You're exhausted, your hands sore, but the clay's starting to feel like an extension of you. Each tool, each motion, is a step toward turning raw earth into something lasting. Tomorrow, you'll face the kiln's fire, but for now, you're just a beginner, carving your place in Beach's ancient craft, one imperfect jar at a time. You're standing in the Beach workshop, the air thick with the scent of damp clay and wood smoke, your hands still tingling from shaping that lopsided jar with the bone scraper. Today, you're stepping up to the kiln, the fiery heart of pottery, where your clay creations face their trial by flame. The workshop's quieter now, the morning bustle giving way to a focused hush as potters prepare for firing. Your master, his face smudged with soot, points to a dome-shaped kiln built into the hillside, its stone walls blackened from years of use. "This is where clay becomes forever," he says, tossing a log onto a pile nearby. "You're about to learn the delicate dance of stoking the kiln, balancing heat to transform your jar into something that could outlast you by centuries." The awe-inspiring power of the kiln, transforming soft clay into durable ceramic, fills you with a sense of wonder and deep appreciation for this ancient craft that has stood the test of time. The kiln's a beast, a low, rounded structure with a firebox at one end and a chimney poking out the top like a stubborn weed. Historians say beach kilns, around 300 CE, were engineering marvels designed to reach temperatures over 1,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to turn soft clay into hard ceramic. You crouch by the firebox, feeding it dry pine logs as your master instructs. The flames lick upward, crackling, and the heat hits your face like a slap. You're supposed to keep the fire steady, not too hot, not too cool, like coaxing a dragon to purr instead of roar. You toss in a log and sparks fly, making you jump. Your master chuckles. "Scared of a little fire? Wait till it eats your pot." You smirk, but you're sweating already, and it's not just the heat. Here's the quirky bit. Some beach potters believed the kiln's fire had a spirit, and they'd whisper prayers to it before lighting, asking for strong pots. This belief was not just a superstition, but a deeply ingrained cultural practice that added a spiritual dimension to the pottery process. You catch yourself muttering a quick plea under your breath, just in case. Better safe than sorry, right? Historians still argue whether these rituals were spiritual or practical. Did the prayers calm the potters, steadying their hands, or was it just tradition? Either way, the fire's mesmerizing, its orange glow dancing in the kiln's mouth as you feed it more wood. The smoke stings your eyes, but there's something hypnotic about the process, like you're part of an ancient alchemy. Your master shows you how to stack the pots inside the kiln, placing them on clay stilts to keep them from sticking to the floor. Your jar, lumpy but yours, sits among dozens of others, from wide storage vessels to delicate bowls. You're careful, but one wrong move and you could knock over someone's masterpiece. slow. Your master snaps as you nearly tip a tall urn. You wince, imagining the potter's glare if you'd ruined it. The kiln's interior is dark, cramped, and already warm, like a cave that's decided it hates you. You crawl out, brushing clay dust off your tunic, which is more mud than cloth now. The firing process takes days, and you're on fire duty, which means no sleep and a lot of squinting at flames. Your master explains the heat stages, low at first to dry the pots, then hotter to harden them. You learn to read the fire's color. Yellow means it's too cool, while white means it's ready to burst into flames. Modern studies of beach ceramics reveal that they consistently achieved high temperatures, creating pots that were both functional and aesthetically pleasing. Some of these pots were even exported to Japan, influencing the development of the Japanese pottery tradition. You poke the fire with a long stick, stirring embers, and the heat makes your face feel like it's melting. Nice look, apprentice, you're practically a smoked fish. The village outside carries on, oblivious to your sweaty struggle. A woman sings as she pounds rice, her voice drifting through the workshop's open walls. Children run past, chasing a stray dog, their laughter mixing with the fire's crackle. You catch a whiff of grilled eel from a nearby hut, and your stomach growls louder than the kiln. Your master hands you a rice cake, saying, "Eat, hungry potters make bad pots." You munch gratefully, crumbs sticking to your clay-smeared fingers. The rice cake's sweet, but you're pretty sure you just ate some dirt, too. Classic beach multitasking. Maintaining the fire's steady rhythm is a relentless task. You add logs, adjust vents, and watch the smoke curl upward, its patterns like a secret language. Your master's words echo in your mind that the kiln's heat must be even, or the pots will crack. Too much heat on one side, and they warp like a bad haircut. You're beginning to understand the kiln's power and its potential to make or break days of work. The other potters take turns checking the fire, their faces illuminated by the glow, and you feel a quiet camaraderie. It's as if you're all coaxing the same stubborn beast. One potter, a wiry man with a scar on his cheek, shares a story about a kiln that once ate an entire batch of pots. "Blamed the wind," he says, winking. You laugh, but you're checking the vents twice now, feeling a strong bond with your fellow potters, all united in the pursuit of perfecting their craft. As evening falls, the kiln's glow lights up the workshop, casting flickering shadows on the walls. You're exhausted, your hands blistered, but there's a strange calm in the fire's rhythm. The crackle, the hiss, the soft roar. The village settles into dusk, the air cooling, carrying the scent of pine and river water. Your jar's in there, facing its trial, and you feel a flicker of pride. Tomorrow you'll see if it survived. But for now, you're just a fire-tending apprentice, bound to the kiln's heat, learning its secrets one log at a time. The exhaustion is absolute, but so is the sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that comes from a hard day's work. You're back in the beach workshop, the air now tinged with a faint sweetness, like herbs mixed with clay dust. The kiln's still cooling from yesterday's fiery ordeal. Your lopsided jar's fate hangs in the balance. Remember that sweaty fire-tending shift? But today you're diving into a new art, mixing glazes for Goryo's famous Celadon pottery. It's a few centuries later, around 1100 CE, and you're in a Goryo workshop, where potters chase the jade-like sheen that'll make their pots the envy of Asia. Your master, a wiry woman with ink-stained fingers, hands you a clay bowl filled with grayish powder. "This becomes green," she says, smirking at your skeptical squint. You're about to learn the alchemy of glazes, a process as finicky as it is beautiful. Goryo Celadon, with its pale green glow, is legendary. Historians claim that by the 12th century, Goryo potters had perfected a glaze made from wood ash, crushed stone, and clay, which was fired to create a translucent, jade-like finish that dazzled Chinese and Japanese elites. You're at a low table, grinding ash with a stone pestle, the powder fine as dust under your fingers. The workshop's quieter than beaks, Potters work with a monk-like focus, their tools clinking softly. You mix the ash with water and a reddish clay slurry, stirring until the mixture is smooth and homogeneous. It looks like muddy soup, not exactly jade, and you wonder if your master's pulling a prank. Patience, she says, reading your doubt. The kiln reveals its truth. Here's the quirky bit. Some Goryeo potters believed the glaze needed a breath of the forest, so they'd burn specific woods, like pine or chestnut, for the ash, claiming it gave the celadon its soul. You picture yourself lugging pine branches, hoping the trees approve of your glaze. Historians still debate whether the choice of wood mattered chemically or was merely a ritual. Did pine ash truly alter the glaze's hue, or was it a matter of honoring tradition? Either way, you're stirring carefully, the slurry thickening, and the process feels like mixing a potion under the forest's watchful eye. Your master shows you how to sieve the glaze through a fine cloth, catching lumps that could ruin the finish. You try, and half the mix sloshes onto your tunic. Nice move, apprentice, you're now a walking glaze stain. She laughs, handing you another bowl. Less enthusiasm, more precision, she says. You try again, slower, and the glaze drips smoothly, like liquid moonlight. The goal is to coat pots evenly before firing, but the mix must be perfect. Too thick, and it cracks. Too thin, and it lacks interest. You dip a test piece, a small clay shard, and set it aside for the kiln. The other potters nod, their hands busy with brushes as they paint glaze onto delicate bowls. The celadon's green isn't just aesthetic, it's cultural. Goryeo's elites prized it for its resemblance to jade, a symbol of purity and eternity. You learn to add iron oxide for that greenish tint, a trick modern archaeologists confirm through chemical analysis of Goryeo shards. You sprinkle in the oxide, a rusty powder, and stir, watching the glaze shift subtly. It's like painting with the earth itself, and you're starting to see why potters obsess over this. Your master points to a finished celadon vase, its surface glowing like a forest pool. That's what we chase, she says. You nod, but your test shard looks more like a swamp than a jewel. The beauty of the finished celadon vase, its surface shimmering like a forest pool, fills you with a sense of awe and admiration for the art of Goryeo celadon pottery. The workshop's rhythm is soothing, the soft scrape of brushes, the clink of bowls, the occasional hum of a potter lost in thought. Outside, the Goryeo village hums. Merchants barter in the market, their voices mingling with the clop of ox carts. You catch a whiff of sesame oil from a nearby kitchen, and your stomach grumbles. Your master tosses you a dried persimmon, sweet and chewy, but you're pretty sure you've got glaze in your teeth now. Classic potter's lunch. You chew, watching her paint glaze with a bamboo brush, her strokes precise, like calligraphy. You try it, and your brush wobbles, leaving a streaky mess. Like writing a poem, she says. Don't rush. You laugh, your poem's more like a toddler's scribble. The glaze process feels like a secret only the kiln understands. You learn to layer it thinly, letting the clay's texture peek through, a hallmark of Goryeo celadon's elegance. Your master says the kiln's heat will transform the muddy slurry into that coveted green. But one wrong move, too much ash, too little water, and the glaze dulls or bubbles. You're starting to respect the precision, the way every step matters. A potter nearby shows you a trick, dipping pots twice for a deeper sheen. You try, and your shard looks slightly less swampy. Progress, maybe? As the day fades, the workshop glows with the late afternoon light, the air cooling and carrying the scent of pine from the hills. Your hands are sticky with glaze, your tunic a disaster, but there's a calm in the work, a quiet focus that settles your mind. The other potters pack their tools, their celadon pieces ready for the kiln's judgment. You set your test shard among them, hoping it survives the fire. Tomorrow you'll see the results, but for now you're just an apprentice chasing jade-green dreams in a Goryeo workshop, one careful stir at a time. The transformative power of the kiln, the anticipation of seeing your creation emerge in its final form, fills you with a sense of wonder and excitement. You're deep in the Goryeo workshop now, the morning air cool and tinged with the faint sweetness of drying glaze. Remember that muddy slurry you mixed for that jade-like celadone? The kiln's still cooling, your test shard waiting inside. But today, you're living the potter's daily grind, the relentless rhythm that defines life in a 12th century Goryeo village. Your master, her hands stained green from yesterday's glaze, points you to a corner piled with clay lumps. "Work doesn't stop," she says, her voice dry as the straw mat you're kneeling on. The workshop hums, wheels spin, tools clink, and the scent of wet clay mixes with wood smoke. You're about to sink into the routine of a Goryeo potter, a cycle of labor and craft that's as soothing as it is exhausting. A potter's day starts early before the sun crests the hills. Historians note that Goryeo potters, around 1100 CE, worked in tightly knit communities, often living near their workshops to tend kilns and meet the demand for celadone where's prized by nobles and traders. You're up at dawn, hauling water from a nearby stream, the bucket heavy, sloshing against your legs. The village is stirring, roosters crow, merchants set up stalls, and the faint clatter of looms echoes from a neighbor's hut. You mix water into clay, kneading it as you learn, your hands sinking into the cool, pliable mass. It's repetitive, almost meditative, but your arms are already complaining. Your master catches you slacking and flicks a pebble at you. "Daydreaming's for nobles," she says. You grin, but you're pretty sure she's half serious. Here's the quirky bit. Some potters kept a lucky stone by their workstation, believing it brought steadiness and strength to their hands and pots. You notice a smooth, river-worn pebble by your master's wheel, polished from years of nervous rubbing. Historians still debate whether these stones were talismans or merely stress relievers. Did they truly help, or were potters just fidgety? You're tempted to pocket one yourself, especially since your kneading is still uneven, leaving lumps in the clay-like dough, which are unwelcome guests. You slap the clay harder, driving out air bubbles, the thwack blending with the workshop's rhythm. It's satisfying, but you're starting to feel like you're wrestling a very stubborn mud monster. Your day's packed. After kneading, you shape small bowls on a borrowed wheel, your feet pedaling awkwardly, the clay wobbling under your hands. Your first bowl looks like it got drunk and fell over. Nice try, apprentice. Your master shows you how to center the clay, her hands guiding yours, steady and sure. "Feel the earth's pulse," she says, and you try, but mostly you feel like the clay's winning. You move on to trimming pots from yesterday, using a bone scraper to smooth edges. The workshop's alive with activity. Potters glaze, stack firewood, or haggle with traders dropping off ash for glazes. You catch a whiff of roasted barley from outside, and your stomach growls. Lunch is a rice ball wrapped in seaweed, eaten while you sweep clay dust off the floor. Multitasking, Goryeo style. The routine's relentless but oddly calming. You learn to time your tasks with the village's rhythm, kneading when the morning's cool, shaping in the afternoon's light, cleaning as the sun dips. Modern studies of Goryeo pottery villages suggest potters worked long hours, often 6 days a week, their lives tied to the seasons and kiln schedules. You're starting to feel it, your hands are sore, your back aches, but the clay's pull is addictive. You shape another bowl, better this time, its walls almost even. Your master nods, muttering, "Not terrible," high praise, considering her usual grunts. You're still a mess. Clay in your hair, dust on your face, but you're starting to blend into the workshop's flow. The sense of accomplishment in mastering the craft is palpable, and you're inspired to continue your journey as a Goryeo potter. The social side of the grind fascinates you. Potters swap stories while working, their voices low like a podcast for the 12th century. One tells of a trader who paid for a celadone vase with a horse. Imagine the paperwork. You laugh, nearly dropping your bowl, and the others join in, the workshop warm with camaraderie. Outside, the village pulses. Children play with wooden tops, a monk chants faintly, and the scent of pine drifts from the hills. You pause to stretch, noticing how the workshop's roof beams are carved with faint patterns, maybe a potter's idle art. It's a small detail, but it makes the space feel alive, like the clay itself. You feel a strong sense of belonging within the Goryeo pottery community, which makes you feel included and valued. As evening nears, you help stack pots for the subsequent firing, your hands steadier now. The routine sinking into you, the knead, the shape, the sweep, the weight. Your master hands you a cup of barley tea, its warmth soothing your aching fingers. "You'll live," she says, smirking. You sip, tasting the toasted grain, and realize you're starting to fall in love with this grind. The workshop glows with fading light, the air cooling, carrying the faint hum of the village settling into dusk. Tomorrow you'll check your shard's fate in the kiln, but for now you're just an apprentice, caught in the slow, steady pulse of Goryeo's pottery life, one clay-stained day at a time. The sense of progress in your apprenticeship is palpable, and it motivates you to continue your journey as a Goryeo potter. You're back in the Goryeo workshop, the air thick with the familiar scent of damp clay and the faint sweetness of the glaze you meticulously mixed. Remember that swampy slurry you hoped would turn jade green, the careful balance of minerals and water, the anticipation as the colors slowly emerged? The daily grind of kneading and shaping is starting to feel like second nature. Still, today, you're stepping into something extraordinary, carving mythical creatures into sacred clay vessels, transforming pots into stories etched into the earth. It's still 1100 CE, and the workshop's quieter. The potters focused on crafting urns for rituals, not just storage jars. Your master, her fingers stained green from the glaze and her eyes sharp as a hawk's, hands you a small clay urn. Its surface is smooth but blank. "Make it speak," she says, passing you a bamboo stylus. The soft hum of wheels and the clink of tools fill the space, and you're about to etch Goryeo's myths into clay, a task that feels like whispering to the gods. The Goryeo culture, with its rich blend of Buddhist and shamanic beliefs, is deeply intertwined with the art of pottery. The vessels you're about to create are not just functional. They are sacred art, often used in Buddhist ceremonies and ancestral rites, and believed to carry prayers into the afterlife. These ritual vessels are more than pottery, they're sacred art. Historians note that Goryeo potters, around the 12th century, created urns and bowls for Buddhist ceremonies and ancestral rites, often incised with mythical creatures like dragons, phoenixes, or cranes to invoke protection or blessings. You sit at a low wooden table, the urn cool and heavy in your hands, and study a sketch your master made. A curling dragon, its scales swirling like storm clouds over a mountain. You grip the stylus, its tip sharp but delicate, and trace the dragon's form into the clay. It's nerve-wracking. One slip and your dragon looks more like a grumpy eel. The process of carving the dragon is a delicate one. You start with the outline, then fill in the details. The scales, the claws, the wings. Each stroke of the stylus is a careful calculation, a dance of precision and artistry. Your first line wobbles, leaving a shaky curve. Your master glances over, smirking. "Gods don't like sloppy dragons," she says, her tone dry as old straw. You chuckle, imagining a deity rolling its eyes at your shaky art like a disappointed art critic. You feel a mix of nervousness and determination, knowing that this is your chance to prove yourself in the workshop. Here's the quirky bit. Some Goryeo potters believed that carving these mythical designs at dawn, when the world was closer to the spirits, made the vessels more sacred. You're up early, the sky barely pink beyond the workshop's open walls, and you wonder if the dawn's soft glow is steadying your trembling hands. Historians still argue whether this timing was spiritual or just practical. Did the early light help potters see better, or was it about aligning with sacred rituals? Either way, the morning's quiet, with only the faint chirp of crickets and the rustle of leaves outside, makes your carving feel like a prayer. You etch the dragon's claws, slow and careful, the stylus scraping softly, like whispering secrets to the clay's cool surface. The myths you're carving come from Goryo's rich blend of Buddhist and shamanic beliefs. Your master tells you about the dragon, a guardian of water and sky, said to protect villages from floods or droughts. You add its curling tail, trying to capture its power, the stylus scratching faint lines that catch the dim light. The clay's surface is forgiving yet firm. Press too deeply, and you ruin the urn. Press too lightly, and the design fades in the kiln's heat. You glance at another potter's work, a phoenix with wings spread wide. Its lines so precise it seems ready to fly off the pot. Your dragon, well, it's more abstract, but you're trying. You add clouds around it, hoping they hide your uneven lines. Nice save, apprentice. Your dragon's now a cloudy mess, but it's got personality. The workshop hums with quiet focus. A potter nearby carves a lotus flower, a Buddhist symbol of purity, her stylus moving like it's dancing across the clay. Another hums a low chant to honor the spirits or to stay awake after a long night. You catch a whiff of incense drifting from a nearby shrine, its smoky sweetness blending with the clay's earthy tang, grounding you in the moment. Your stomach growls. Lunch is hours away, probably another rice ball with a side of clay dust. You're starting to think potters live on willpower and crumbs. Your master tosses you a dried plum, tart and chewy, and says, "Keep your hands moving." You pop it in, hoping it distracts from the clay dust you're pretty sure is coating your teeth now. Classic Goryo snack break. Carving these vessels feels like weaving stories into the earth itself. Modern studies of Goryo ceramics reveal that ritual urns were often buried with the deceased or used in temple offerings, their intricate designs carrying prayers into the afterlife. Each line you carve feels heavy with purpose, a link to the divine meant to last beyond your lifetime. As an apprentice, your role in the workshop is crucial. You're not just a student. You're a part of a tradition, a lineage of potters who have been crafting these vessels for generations. You add a final flourish to your dragon, a whisker that looks more like a squiggle, and your master squints, then shrugs. "It'll do," she says, which is a standing ovation from her. You grin, realizing there's clay smudged on your nose. It's a rookie mistake, but you're too focused to care. The village outside pulses softly. Monks chant faintly in the distance, their voices blending with the rustle of bamboo in the breeze. A child runs by, shouting about a lost kite, his voice cutting through the workshop's calm. The rhythm pulls you back, the scrape of styluses, the soft thud of clay, the occasional laugh from a potter swapping stories. As the sun climbs, the air warms, carrying the scent of pine and river water from the hills. Your urn's done, ready for glazing, and you feel a flicker of pride, even if your dragon looks like it's had one too many rice wines. Tomorrow, you'll learn who else shaped these sacred pots. But for now, you're just an apprentice, etching myths into clay, one careful scratch at a time. You're still in the Goryo workshop, the air heavy with the scent of clay and the faint incense from that shrine outside. Remember your wonky dragon carving from yesterday? The urn you etched is waiting for its glaze, but today, you're uncovering a hidden story. The role of women potters in Goryo's craft, often overlooked but vital. It's 1100 CE, and the workshop's alive with its usual rhythm. Wheels hum, tools clink, and potters move with quiet purpose. Your master, the sharp-eyed woman who's been guiding you, points to an older potter across the room, her hands shaping a delicate celadone bowl. "She's been here longer than me," she says, a rare softness in her voice. You're about to learn how women shaped Goryo's pottery, their hands as crucial as any man's, even if history barely whispers their names. Women in Goryo's pottery workshops weren't just helpers, they were artisans. Despite their contributions being rarely recorded in official chronicles, by the 12th century, women in Goryo often worked alongside men, kneading clay, shaping vessels, and even mastering the wheel. You watch the older potter, her fingers moving with a grace that makes your clumsy dragon look like a toddler's doodle. She's shaping a bowl so thin it seems to glow, her hands steady as she pedals the wheel. You're assigned to help her today, carrying her clay and watching her work. "Don't just stare," she says, tossing you a lump of clay. "Knead." You start, the familiar squish under your palms, but you're distracted by her skill, wondering how many pots she's made in her decades here. Her resilience and determination, palpable in every movement, inspire you to work harder and learn from her. Here's the quirky bit. Some Goryeo women potters were said to sing to the clay, believing their songs softened it, making it easier to shape. You catch the older potter humming softly, a low, lilting tune that blends with the workshop's hum. Historians still debate whether this was a practical trick. Did singing calm the potters, steadying their hands, or was it a ritual to honor the clay spirit of the clay? You're not sure, but as you try humming too. It's awkward, and your tune sounds like a cat with a cold, but the clay does feel smoother. Or maybe you're just tired. Either way, the older potter smiles faintly, like she knows you're trying to crack her secrets. You learn that women often handled specific tasks, kneading, glazing, or decorating, because their hands were considered deft for delicate work. The older potter shows you how she smooths a bowl's rim with a bamboo tool, her movements precise, like calligraphy. You try and your rim wobbles like a bad haircut. "Takes years," she says, not unkindly. You nod, your hands aching, and notice how the workshop's women move with quiet confidence, their work blending into the men's without fanfare. Some carve intricate lotus patterns. Others mix glazes, their fingers stained green like those of your master. You're starting to see the workshop as a shared space where skill matters more than gender, fostering a strong sense of unity and equality among the potters. The historical record is patchy. Goryeo scribes primarily focused on kings and monks rather than potters, especially women. However, archaeological finds, such as celadone shards with delicate designs, suggest that women's hands were responsible for shaping many of the era's finest pieces. You ask the older potter how she learned, and she shrugs, saying her mother taught her and her grandmother taught her before that. It's a legacy passed through families, not scrolls. You're hauling clay for her now, your arms sore, and you trip, nearly dropping the basket. "Careful," she says, laughing. "Clay's not cheap." You grin, realizing you're a walking disaster, but her patience and warmth make you want to try harder, fostering a strong sense of encouragement in the learning process. The workshop's rhythm is soothing, the soft thud of clay, the creak of wheels, the occasional chuckle from a potter swapping stories. Outside, the village hums. Women pound rice, their pestles thumping, and children laugh, chasing kites. You catch a whiff of grilled fish, and your stomach growls louder than a temple gong. The older potter tosses you a rice cake, its sweetness cutting through the clay dust in your mouth. "Eat fast," she says. "Work's waiting." You munch, crumbs sticking to your clay-smeared fingers, and wonder how you're supposed to stay clean. Spoiler, you're not. Your tunic is now a masterpiece of mud stains. Helping the older potter feels like peeking into a hidden world. She shows you how to burnish a bowl with a river stone, polishing it until it shines even before glazing. Her hands move like they're part of the clay, and you're in awe, though your attempt leaves scratches. "Practice," she says, and you laugh, imagining 100 scratched bowls in your future. The women here don't just work. They shape the workshop soul, their quiet skill holding it together. As the sun climbs, the air warms, carrying the scent of pine and river mist. Your hands are sore, but you're starting to feel the clay's rhythm, thanks to her. Tomorrow you'll see how these pots traveled far. But for now, you're just an apprentice, learning from Goryeo's unsung women, one kneaded lump at a time. You're back in the Goryeo workshop, the familiar scent of clay and faint incense lingering in the air. Remember that older woman potter's steady hands from yesterday? Your dragon-carved urn is still waiting for its kiln verdict. But today, you're stepping out of the workshop and onto the dusty trails of the silk routes. It's 1100 CE, and you're joining traders to see how Goryeo's celadone pottery, with its jade-green glow, travels across Asia, carrying the kingdom's fame far beyond its borders. Your master hands you a small celadon bowl wrapped in straw for protection. "Guard it," she says, her eyes serious. "It's worth more than you." The village buzzes, ox carts creak, merchants shout, and you're about to learn the art of trading pottery. A journey as delicate as the pots themselves, but also a journey that carries the weight of Goriot's cultural heritage. Goriot's celadon was a hot commodity on the silk routes, coveted from China to Japan and even further west. Historians note that by the 12th century, Goriot's pottery was traded along maritime and overland routes, reaching elite courts and temples as far as the Song dynasty and Japan's Heian aristocracy. You're part of a small caravan, your bowl tucked into a padded basket slung over your shoulder. The trail winds through pine-covered hills, the air crisp with the scent of resin and earth. You walk beside a grizzled trader, his ox cart loaded with crates of pottery, each piece wrapped like a newborn. "Break one," he grumbles, "and you're carrying the whole load." You laugh nervously, clutching your bowl tighter, already picturing it shattering like your dreams of being a competent apprentice. Here's the quirky bit. Some traders believed celadon brought luck, claiming its green sheen warded off bandits or storms at sea. You notice your trader muttering to his crates as if the pots can hear him. Historians still debate whether this was a case of superstition or marketing. Did the lucky reputation boost sales? Or was it merely a way to calm jittery traders? Either way, you're keeping an eye on the trail, half expecting bandits to leap from the bushes. The path is rough, rocks jabbing your straw sandals, and every jolt makes you wince, imagining your bowl cracking. The trader hands you a stick to prod the ox, and you poke it gently, earning a lazy grunt. "Nice job, apprentice, you're now an ox whisperer." The journey's slow, giving you time to notice the world beyond the workshop. The trail passes rice fields, their green shoots swaying, and villages where women weave under shady trees, their looms clicking rhythmically. You stop at a roadside stall, trading a copper coin for a skewer of grilled mushrooms, their smoky flavor a welcome break from clay dust. Your trader barters with a merchant, swapping a small celadon cup for a bolt of silk. You watch, fascinated, as he unwraps the cup, its green glaze catching the sunlight like a forest pool. Modern studies of the Goriot trade reveal that celadon was often exchanged for luxury goods, such as silk, spices, and even horses, making potters like you vital to the kingdom's wealth. This journey is not just physical but also a rich educational experience, enriching your understanding of the world and the value of your craft. The trader teaches you to inspect the pottery for cracks, running your fingers along each piece before it's repacked. You're clumsy, nearly dropping a bowl, and he glares like you've insulted his ancestors. "Careful," he snaps. "That's a month's wages." You nod, your hands sweating, and rewrap the bowl with an extra straw, feeling like you're swaddling a very fragile baby. The caravan moves on, the ox cart creaking, and you fall into step, the weight of your bowl grounding you. You're starting to see why these pots matter. They're not just clay. They're Goriot's pride, carried across continents. As an apprentice, you play a crucial role in this journey, and your actions have significant weight. You feel a deep sense of pride in contributing to Goriot's cultural heritage. The trail leads to a port, where ships wait to ferry goods across the sea. The air smells of salt and fish, and sailors shout as they load crates onto a wooden vessel. Your trader points to a ship bound for Japan, where your celadon will grace a noble's table. You imagine your bowl there, holding sake instead of rice, and feel a flicker of pride, even if it's probably got a wobbly rim. The trader tells you stories of far-off markets, bustling Song dynasty ports, Persian merchants marveling at the sheen of celadon. You're awestruck, realizing your muddy workshop is part of something vast. As dusk falls, you camp by the trail, the air cooling, carrying the scent of pine and distant waves. The trader shares a rice cake, its sweetness cutting through the dust in your mouth. You're filthy, your tunic a map of dirt and straw bits, but you're starting to love this. The stars emerge, and you lie back, your bowl safe beside you, wondering how far it'll travel. Tomorrow you'll return to the workshop, but for now you're just an apprentice, carrying Goryo's art across the silk routes, one careful step at a time. You're back in the Goryo workshop, the familiar scent of clay and pine lingering in the air. Remember that Celadon bowl you carried along the silk routes? It's 1100 CE, but now you're in a Scylla workshop, a few centuries earlier, around 700 CE, where potters are adding a dazzling twist, gold inlays to their finest ceramics. The workshop's smaller, its walls lined with shelves of grayish pots waiting for their golden touch. Your master, a stout man with a gold-flecked beard, hands you a thin brush and a tiny clay pot filled with a shimmering paste. "Don't waste it," he warns, his eyes narrowing. The hum of wheels and the soft clink of tools fill the space, and you're about to learn how Scylla potters made their ceramics gleam like treasure, a craft as precise as it is luxurious. Scylla's gold-inlaid pottery was not only a mark of wealth and skill, but also a significant part of history. Historians note that by the 7th century, Scylla artisans, during the unified Scylla period, embedded gold into ceramics for royal courts and temples, creating vessels that blended earthy clay with opulent shine. You're at a low table, the brush trembling in your hand as you dip it into the paste. A mix of gold dust and sticky resin worth more than your entire village wardrobe. You're tasked with painting a floral pattern onto a small bowl whose surface has already been fired to a hard, gray finish. The brush is finer than a hair, and your first stroke wobbles, leaving a smudge. Your master sighs like you've personally insulted the king. "Steady," he says. "Gold doesn't forgive mistakes." You chuckle, imagining a tiny gold nugget judging your shaky hands. Here's the quirky bit. Some Scylla potters believed gold inlays worked best under a new moon, claiming the metal bonded better when the night was darkest. You glance outside, where the sky's still bright, and wonder if you're doomed to mess this up. Historians still debate whether this was a ritual or simply a matter of timing for better focus. Did the new moon's calmness help steady shaky hands? Or was it merely a matter of superstition? Either way, you're sweating, trying to paint a lotus petal without wasting a fortune. The paste glimmers, catching the workshop's dim light, and you feel like you're decorating a king's crown, not a bowl. Your master shows you how to carve tiny grooves into the bowl first, using a sharp bone tool to outline the design. The gold paste fills these grooves, sticking where it's needed. You try, and your groove looks more like a drunken scratch. "Slow," he snaps, handing you a cloth to wipe the mess. The precision and skill required in this process are awe-inspiring. You're pretty sure your bowl is going to resemble a toddler's art project, but you keep going, carving a second petal more carefully. The other potters are focused, their brushes moving like dancers, inlaying cranes or clouds onto urns. One potter, a young woman, catches your eye and smirks at your smudged bowl. "Keep practicing," she says. You grin, but you're not winning any gold medals today, apprentice. The process is painstaking. After carving, you paint the gold paste, then wipe away excess to keep the lines clean. The bowl is returned to the kiln for a low-heat firing to set the gold, a technique confirmed by modern archaeologists through Scylla pottery shards that still shine centuries later. You're starting to see why this matters. Each golden line is a status symbol meant for nobles or temples, not your average rice farmer. Your bowl's petals are uneven, but they gleam faintly, and you feel a flicker of pride, even if it looks like you sneezed gold onto it. The workshop's rhythm is hypnotic, the soft scrape of tools, the murmur of potters, the occasional clatter of a dropped brush. Outside, the Scylla village hums. Merchants hawk silk, a temple bell rings faintly, and the scent of roasted chestnuts drifts in, making your stomach growl. Your master tosses you a persimmon. Its sweetness is a welcome break from the clay dust. "Don't eat the gold," he jokes, and you laugh, realizing you've got paste on your fingers. Classic move, apprentice, you're a walking treasure chest now if treasure chests were this messy. Working with gold feels like a privilege, but it's stressful. One wrong stroke and you've wasted a noble's ransom. Your master says the gold comes from Scylla's mines, which are traded for pottery or silk, thereby tying the workshop to the kingdom's wealth. You paint another petal, slower, and it's almost decent. The woman potter nods a rare approval, and you feel like you've earned a tiny crown. The air warms as the sun climbs, carrying the scent of pine and river mist. Your bowl's ready for its final firing, and you hope it survives. Tomorrow you'll see how these pots serve sacred rituals. But for now, you're just an apprentice, painting gold into Scylla's clay, one shaky stroke at a time. Back in the Scylla workshop, the air is heavy with the scent of clay and the faint metallic tang of the gold paste you used to paint the lotus petals yesterday. This gold paste, a unique feature of Scylla pottery, was not just a decorative element but a symbol of luxury and spiritual significance. It's still 700 CE, and today, you're crafting pots for Scylla's sacred rituals, vessels meant to carry prayers or honor the dead. The workshop is hushed, almost reverent, as potters work on ceremonial urns and bowls. Your master, his gold-flecked beard catching the morning light, hands you a smooth clay urn, its surface ready for shaping. "This one's for the ancestors," he says, his voice low. The hum of wheels and the soft clink of tools fill the space, and you're about to learn how Scylla's potters wove spirituality into their craft, turning clay into something divine. These ritual pots are not just art. They are conduits to the spiritual realm. Historians have documented that during unified Scylla, around the 7th century, potters crafted vessels for Buddhist temples and ancestral rites, often used to hold offerings or cremated remains. Today, you're shaping an urn by hand, without a wheel, using a wooden paddle to curve its sides gently. The clay is cool and pliable, but it resists as if it knows it's destined for something sacred. Your master shows you how to form a broad, flaring rim, perfect for holding rice or incense. Your first attempt slumps like a tired monk, and he sighs. "Ancestors deserve better," he says. You chuckle, imagining a grumpy spirit critiquing your lopsided urn. Here's the quirky bit. Some Scylla potters believed clay for ritual pots had to be blessed by touching temple soil before shaping. This temple soil, believed to have spiritual properties, was used to enhance the quality and strength of the clay. You notice your master sprinkling a pinch of earth from a small pouch onto the clay, muttering softly to himself. Historians still debate whether this was a spiritual rite or a practical trick. Did the temple soil contain minerals that strengthened the clay, or was it merely a tradition? Either way, you're copying him, dusting your urn with a bit of soil, feeling like you're part of something ancient. The clay seems to soften under your hands, or maybe that's just wishful thinking. The process feels sacred, the workshop's hum blending with the faint chant of monks from a nearby temple. You're learning to add subtle designs, using a bamboo stylus to carve lotus flowers, a nod to Buddhist purity. The lines are delicate, and your hand shakes, leaving a scratch that's more squiggle than petal. "Slow," your master says, handing you a cloth to smooth it out. You try again, and it's better, though your lotus looks like it's had a rough day. The other potters are carving too, cranes for longevity, clouds for the heavens, their tools moving with a grace you envy. One potter, a wiry man, shows you how to burnish the urn with a river stone, polishing it until it gleams even before firing. Your attempt leaves faint scratches, and you wince, hoping the ancestors aren't too picky. But you're part of this process, your hands shaping the clay, your heart in every stroke. These urns are meant for eternity, used in ceremonies to honor the dead or offer gifts to the gods. These ceremonies, often held in Buddhist temples, were significant events in Scylla society, and the vessels used were a crucial part of the ritual. Modern studies of Scylla pottery reveal that ritual vessels were frequently buried in tombs, with their designs reflecting the spiritual beliefs of the time. You're starting to feel the weight of your task. Each curve, each carving, is a prayer set in clay. Your master says these pots must be flawless, or the spirits might reject them. No pressure, apprentice. You shape the urn's base wider for stability, and it's starting to look decent, though one side's still a bit wonky. You're pretty sure the ancestors will forgive you, but your master's glare suggests otherwise. The workshop's rhythm is soothing, the soft scrape of tools, the low murmur of potters, the occasional laugh over a shared story. Outside, the Scylla village pulses. Temple bells ring faintly, women weave under shady trees, and the scent of roasted barley drifts in, making your stomach growl louder than a ritual drum. Your master tosses you a dried persimmon. Its tart sweetness is a welcome break from the clay dust. "Don't eat the urn," he jokes, and you laugh, realizing you've got clay on your lips. Classic move, apprentice, you're a walking pottery disaster now. As you work, you notice the older woman potter from the other day, her hands shaping a small offering bowl with quiet reverence. She hums a chant, maybe the same one you heard before, and it grounds you, tying the workshop to the temple's distant prayers. You're starting to see how these pots carry Scylla's soul, connecting the living to the divine. Your urn's almost done, ready for firing, and you feel a flicker of pride, even if it's not perfect. The sun climbs the air warming, carrying the scent of pine and river mist. Tomorrow, you'll face the challenge of fixing flawed pots. But for now, you're just an apprentice, shaping clay for Scylla's spirits, one careful curve at a time. As you step back into the Scylla workshop, the air thick with the scent of clay and the faint echo of temple bells, you're filled with a sense of wonder. Remember that urn you shaped for the ancestors yesterday. It's waiting for its firing, but today, you're tackling a less glamorous task. Fixing flaws and imperfections in fragile clay pots before they face the kiln's judgment. The workshop is a hive of activity, with potters hunched over their work, the hum of wheels blending with the soft clink of tools. Your master, a seasoned potter with a gold-flecked beard dusted with clay, hands you a cracked bowl and a lump of wet clay. He's not just a supervisor, but a mentor who guides you through the intricate process of pottery repair. "Patch it," he grumbles, "or it's useless." It's still 700 CE, and you're about to learn how Scylla potters salvage their mistakes, turning flawed clay into something lasting, a craft that's as much patience as it is skill. The sense of curiosity and engagement in learning about these ancient techniques is palpable. Mastering the delicate art of pottery repair is a journey of discovery and accomplishment. Historians note that Scylla potters, around the 7th century, developed techniques to repair cracks and weak spots, ensuring even imperfect pots could serve temples or homes. You sit at a low table, the cracked bowl in front of you, its hairline fracture running like a tiny river across its side. Your master shows you how to knead a small bit of clay into a soft paste, mixing it with water until it's sticky as honey. You dab the paste into the crack with a bamboo stick, smoothing it with your finger. It's fiddly work. Too much paste, and it bulges. Too little, and the crack reopens in the kiln. Your first try looks like you smeared mud on a bruise, and your master snorts. "Not a painting," he says. You chuckle, imagining the bowl complaining about its bad makeover. But with each attempt, you're getting better, and the sense of accomplishment is palpable. Here's the quirky bit. Some Scylla potters believed a repaired pot held more spirit than a perfect one, claiming the flaw made it unique, like a scar on a warrior. You wonder if that's just an excuse for clumsy apprentices like you. Historians still debate whether this was a matter of philosophy or practicality. Did potters truly value flaws, or were they merely saving costly clay? Either way, you're carefully blending the clay paste into the surface of the bowl. The process is slow, almost meditative, and you feel the workshop's rhythm wrap around you. The soft scrape of tools, the murmur of potters, the distant chant of monks outside. Your master teaches you another trick, reinforcing weak spots with thin clay coils pressed gently into the bowl's interior. You try, but your coil looks more like a worm that's lost its way. "Gentle," he says, guiding your hands. You're starting to get it. Fixing flaws isn't about hiding them. It's about making the pot whole again. You glance at another potter, a woman smoothing a crack with a river stone, her hands moving like they're soothing the clay itself. Your bowl's crack is almost invisible now, but you're paranoid it'll split again. Your master says a good patch can outlast the pot itself, a fact backed by modern studies of Silla ceramics, where repaired vessels still hold firm after centuries. The workshop's alive with minor fixes: potters patch cracks, reshape rims, or reinforce bases. One potter, a wiry man, shows you how to test a repair by gently tapping the pot. A clear ring means it's sound, and a dull thud indicates trouble. This is a crucial step in the repair process, as it helps you ensure the pot is strong and ready for use. A clear ring indicates that the pot is solid and the repair is successful, while a dull thud suggests that the pot is still weak and the repair needs further work. Your bowl rings faintly, and you grin, feeling like you've passed a tiny test. But then you notice a new crack on the rim. Great job, apprentice, you fixed one flaw to find another. You sigh, grabbing more paste, and the woman potter laughs. Clay keeps you humble, she says. You nod, your hands sticky, your tunic a canvas of smudges. The process is tedious but grounding. You learn to spot flaws by running your fingers over the clay, feeling for weak spots or hidden air bubbles. Your master says catching these before firing saves days of work. One crack in the kiln, and your pot shatters like a bad joke at a temple ceremony. You laugh, imagining the ancestors wincing at your failure. Outside, the Silla village hums. Children chase kites, their shouts mingling with the clop of ox carts. The scent of grilled fish drifts in, and your stomach growls louder than a misfired kiln. Your master tosses you a rice cake, its sweetness cutting through the clay dust in your mouth. Work faster, he says, smirking. You're pretty sure you've eaten more dust than rice today. As the sun climbs, the workshop warms, the air carrying the scent of pine and river mist. You're starting to respect the patience this takes. Every patch, every smooth crack, is a small victory. The other potters work quietly, their hands steady, and you feel a camaraderie in the shared struggle against clay's quirks. This shared struggle is not just about repairing pots, but also about understanding and respecting the nature of clay, which can be unpredictable and challenging. Your bowl is finally patched. Its surface is smooth and ready for firing. It's not perfect, but it's whole, and that feels like enough. Tomorrow, you'll leap forward to Josian's white porcelain, but for now, you're just an apprentice, mending Scylla's fragile clay, one careful patch at a time. In this shared struggle, you find a sense of belonging and community that enriches your journey as a potter. You're now in a Josian workshop, the air crisp with the scent of clay and faint wood smoke. Remember that patched Scylla bowl you salvaged yesterday? It's 1600 CE, centuries later, and you're shaping Josian's famous white porcelain, the elegant, minimalist pottery that graces royal courts and scholars' tables. The workshop is orderly, its shelves lined with smooth, pale pots waiting to be fired. Your master, a tall man with ink-stained sleeves, hands you a lump of fine white clay, softer than anything you've touched before. This is for the king, he says, his voice calm but firm. The hum of wheels and the soft clink of tools fill the space, and you're about to learn how Josian potters crafted porcelain so pure it rivals the moon's glow. A craft of precision and prestige. Josian's white porcelain, known as baksha, is a symbol of elegance and refinement. Historians note that by the 16th century, Josian potters perfected high-fired porcelain using kaolin clay, creating vessels with a milky sheen that the royal court adored. You're at a wheel, your feet pedaling slowly, trying to center the white clay. It's slick, almost creamy, but stubborn, slipping under your hands like a well-bred horse refusing a rider. Your first attempt at a bowl wobble, its walls uneven. Your master raises an eyebrow. The king doesn't eat from drunk bowls, he says, referring to the tradition of using uneven bowls during royal banquets as a sign of disrespect. This tradition, rooted in the Confucian ideals of order and respect, dictated that only the most perfectly crafted bowls were fit for the king's use. You chuckle, imagining a royal banquet with your lopsided creation stealing the show. You try again, slower, and the clay starts to obey, rising into a gentle curve. Here's the quirky bit. Some Josian potters believed the best porcelain clay came from hills blessed by mountain spirits, and they'd offer rice to the land before digging. You picture yourself trudging up a misty hill, muttering thanks to invisible guardians. Historians still debate whether this was a spiritual or practical practice. Some argue that the offerings were a way to instill discipline and respect for the craft, while others believe they were rooted in a genuine belief in the spiritual power of the land. The debate continues, but what's clear is that these rituals were an integral part of the potter's process, shaping their relationship with the land and their craft. Either way, you're grateful for this clay's smoothness as you shape it, the wheels hum blending with the workshop's quiet rhythm. The clay feels alive as if it's testing your patience, but you're starting to find its rhythm. Your hands are steadier than they were in Scylla. Your master shows you how to refine the bowl's shape, using a bamboo rib to smooth its walls until they're as thin as paper. The porcelain's whiteness is striking, almost glowing in the workshop's dim light. You're careful. Too much pressure and the clay collapses. Too little and it stays clunky. Your second bowl is better. Its rim is almost even, though it's still not court-worthy. A potter nearby, a young man with a quick smile, shows you how to trim excess clay with a bone scraper. His movement's precise, like a painter's. You try, and your scraper slips, leaving a faint scratch. "Not bad," he says, which feels like a royal decree. You're pretty sure your tunic's now a canvas of white clay smudges. Apprentice. The porcelain's purpose is lofty vessels for royal banquets, scholars' desks, or temple offerings. Modern studies of Josian baekje reveal that it was fired at blistering temperatures, exceeding 1,300 degrees Celsius, to achieve its glassy finish, a feat of kiln mastery. You're starting to see why this clay is special. It's not just about beauty, but also about durability, designed to hold wine or ink for generations. Your master says every piece must be flawless, or it will be smashed before it leaves the workshop. No pressure, right? You shape another bowl, focusing on its curve, and it's almost decent, though one side's a bit thick. You imagine the king squinting at it, unimpressed. The workshop's rhythm is calming. The soft whir of wheels, the scrape of tools, the occasional murmur of potters swapping tips. Outside, the Josian village hums. Scholars in silk robes stroll by, a cart of firewood rumbles past, and the scent of sesame oil drifts in, making your stomach growl louder than a court drum. Your master tosses you a rice cake, its sweetness cutting through the clay dust in your mouth. "Don't eat the porcelain," he jokes, and you laugh, realizing you've got white clay on your face. Classic move, apprentice, you're a walking moon now. As you work, you notice a woman potter across the room, her hands shaping a delicate vase with a grace that humbles you. She catches your eye and nods, a quiet acknowledgement that reminds you of the women in Goryo's workshops. The porcelain's purity feels symbolic, tied to Josian's Confucian ideals of order and simplicity. You smooth the rim of your bowl, trying to channel that calm, and it's starting to look like something a scholar might tolerate. The air warms as the sun climbs, carrying the scent of pine and river mist. Your bowl's ready for firing, and you hope it survives the kiln's heat. Tomorrow, you'll reflect on pottery's timeless calm. But for now, you're just an apprentice, shaping Josian's white porcelain, one careful spin at a time. And you're not alone in this journey, for women like her have been shaping the history of Josian pottery alongside men. Their contributions, often overlooked, are nonetheless significant. You're still in the Josian workshop, the air soft with the scent of white clay and the distant whisper of pine. Remember that porcelain bowl you shaped for the king's court, its walls almost worthy of a royal table? It's 1600 CE, and today, you're stepping back from the wheel to reflect on pottery's timeless calm, the quiet thread weaving through Beek's muddy riverbanks, Goryo's jade-green celadone, and Josian's moon-white porcelain. The workshop's slowing, the hum of wheels fading as potters tidy their tools, their hands moving with the ease of long practice. Your master, his ink-stained sleeves rolled up, sits by a cooling kiln, sipping barley tea, his face softened by the twilight's glow. You can feel the warmth of the kiln on your skin, the smoothness of the clay under your fingers, and the coolness of the evening breeze. The sound of the wheel spinning, the smell of the kiln's heat, the touch of the clay, and the taste of the barley tea, all these sensory experiences blend into a symphony of pottery making. Clay teaches patience, he murmurs, his voice mixing with the evening's hush. The village outside settles into dusk, and you're about to wind down, letting the rhythm of this ancient craft lull you into a gentle, reflective close. Pottery in Joseon, like in Beach and Scylla before it, is more than a craft. It's a meditation, a dialogue with the earth. Historians note that by the 16th century, Joseon potters were seen as artisans of balance, their white porcelain reflecting Confucian ideals of simplicity and harmony. This cultural significance of pottery in Joseon, deeply rooted in Confucian philosophy, adds a layer of richness to the art. You sit on a worn straw mat, your hands still dusted with fine white clay, and think about the journey you've traced. You started with Beach's river mud, dodging egret droppings for the perfect clay. You mixed Goryo's celadone glazes, chasing that jade-like sheen. You painted Scylla's gold inlays, your shaky lotus petals a humble offering. Each step was a lesson in patience, a slow dance with the earth's gifts. You pick up a finished porcelain cup, its surface smooth as moonlight, and turn it in your hands. It's flawless, unlike your wobbly attempts, and it feels like holding a piece of eternity. Here's the quirky bit. Some Joseon potters believed a well-made pot could sing. When tapped, its clear ring a sign of the earth's approval. You tap your cup gently, and it hums, a faint, pure note that makes you smile, like the clay whispering its thanks. This belief in the clay's approval was not just a test of quality, but a way to honor the craft's spirit. It was a way for the potters to feel connected to the earth and the materials they worked with. Historians still debate whether this was a test of quality or poetic fancy. Did the sound truly signify a pot was strong, or was it a way to honor the craft's spirit? Either way, the note lingers, blending with the workshop's quiet, the soft clink of tools being set down, the low murmur of potters planning tomorrow's work. You're starting to feel the calm that clay brings, a stillness that settles into your bones, as soothing as a warm blanket on a chilly night. You look around, taking in the workshop's details one last time. The shelves lined with pale porcelain, glowing faintly in the fading light. The worn wooden tools, smoothed by countless hands. The faint scratches on the floor from years of spinning wheels. Outside, the Joseon village is slipping into twilight. Lanterns flicker, casting golden glows across the dirt paths, and the scent of roasted chestnuts drifts in, mingling with the earthy tang of the clay. Your stomach growls, loud enough to earn a smirk from a nearby potter. Your master, a figure of wisdom and patience, hands you a final rice cake, its sweetness cutting through the clay dust coating your mouth. "You've learned something," he says, a rare smile creasing his face. You nod, your hands sore but steady, realizing you're not just an apprentice anymore. You're part of this craft's heartbeat, a thread in its ancient tapestry. The day's labor feels complete, the workshop a sanctuary of quiet purpose. You think back to the river's squelching mud, the kiln's fiery roar, the delicate brush of gold. Each moment shaped you just as you shaped the clay. Your porcelain cup, cool in your hands, is a small victory, even if its rim's a bit uneven. You're proud, though your hands have touched the earth's pulse, from gritty muck to glowing porcelain. The village outside is nearly silent now, only the faint chirp of crickets and the rustle of leaves breaking the calm. You're ready to rest, the day's work fading like a dream, leaving only the soft rhythm of pottery's timeless craft. This sense of accomplishment, of having contributed to a tradition that spans centuries, is a feeling that can inspire and motivate anyone on their journey of learning and creation. As twilight deepens, the workshop grows still, the air cool and heavy with the scent of clay and pine. You set the porcelain cup down, its faint glow catching the last of the fading light like a star cradled in your hands. The village is quiet now, its lanterns dim, the world softening into night's embrace. Your hands, dusted with clay, feel heavy, but there's a peace in their ache, a connection to centuries of potters who kneaded, shaped, and fired before you. The stars emerge, faint pinpricks above the hills, and the soft hum of the river lingers in your memory, a lullaby from beach banks. You breathe slowly, letting the day's rhythm slip away, each moment dissolving into calm. The clay has taught you patience. Its weight grounds you and its smoothness soothes your mind. Picture the workshop fading, its tools at rest, the kiln's warmth cooling into silence. You're drifting now, carried by the gentle pulse of the earth, the quiet song of pottery's timeless craft. Let your thoughts soften, your breath slow, as the night wraps you in its embrace. Sleep well, apprentice, you've earned it. This sense of connection to the past, of being part of a rich tradition, is a feeling that can evoke a deep sense of belonging and appreciation for the art of pottery.